Hello and welcome back to the KCC channel. I'm Rob and I hope you are having a wonderful day today. Today I have an epic 10-part story for you from the FHOA subreddit. Well, actually this one started out in the r/HOA subreddit, but then the OP got banned from there and they posted the rest of it to r/FHOA. Let's jump right in. This story comes to us from Desert Nurse 760. HOA tried to tow my legally permitted vehicle twice in one day. I paid cash for a 2-bedroom condo in April. The condo came with 2 parking permits, one red, one green. The updated rules that were sent to me after closing states that an owner gets 2 parking permits, one for covered parking and one for uncovered parking. However, the rules do not state which permit is for which parking. Walking around the neighborhood revealed both green and red permits under covered parking, as well as about half of the vehicles showing no permit at all. 1 week ago, I received a notice on my windshield that my car would be towed for not showing the proper permit, even though the permit was clearly visible in the corner of the passenger side windshield. In fact, the notice was placed under the passenger wiper blade directly above the permit. I called the management company and informed them of their mistake along with a picture of the permit in the corner of the windshield. I thought that this would solve the problem. I was wrong. I am a nurse and I work the knock shift. At about 1300 hours, my wife came in screaming that one of our cars was being towed. I immediately got up, got dressed, and went outside to find an employee of the management company directing a tow truck to tow my car. She said that it was being towed because it had the wrong color permit. I immediately pulled up the R&Rs on my phone and asked her to show me where the color codes were explained. She couldn't do that because that explanation doesn't exist in the rules, but she refused to stop the towing company, so I had no choice but to call the police. Upon arrival, I explained to the officers what was happening and showed them the R&Rs on my phone and both of my cars with the proper permits. They told the management employee and the tow company that they had no reason to tow my car. The rep hemmed and hawed that I was parked wrong even if the rules didn't state so. The cop ordered the tow company to release my car. Problem solved, right? Wrong. I go back to bed and just fall asleep when my wife comes in screaming that they are towing the car again. I go back outside and the same cop is there from earlier. This time, the president of the management company, the one who oversees HOA board meetings, is there along with the same tow truck driver and employee from before. This time, my car is already up on the flatbed. The manager told police that I still had the wrong permit to use covered parking, even though it was the right one according to this unwritten rule that I had learned of earlier in the day. The cop asked the manager if she had inspected the permit before calling for the car to be towed. She admitted that she hadn't and was just going off what the employee had told her from earlier. The cop asked her to verify that the permit was the right color to be under covered parking, and she hesitantly admitted that it was. The cop was visibly perturbed and again ordered the tow truck to release my vehicle. He then gave a stern talking to the manager about making false claims and not verifying for herself what her employee told her. The cop gave me a case number and said that both reports would be available in 24 hours. I plan to use those reports to bring this to the attention of the HOA board, as I know for certain that the manager will try to sweep this under the rug, or will refuse to even acknowledge this incident. What should my next step be? Jumping down to the comment section on this one, there's one from a user called Direster. It says, notifying the HOA board in writing about these attempts to illegally tow your vehicle is the first step. Looks like you're already preparing for that. Rest depends on your state laws. You might even be able to file a small claim, but if I were you, I wouldn't do it yet, even if your state law allows this. Typically, a towing authorization should be given in writing. Ask for a copy of this authorization from the management company. Make sure to let them know you are prepared to sue them if this happens again, if you are prepared to do that. I'm not a lawyer, just my opinion and how I would address this if I were in your position. OP responded to the comment and said, the officer notified dispatch that my car was not to be towed. Apparently, the tow company notifies the cops when they're going to tow a vehicle, and they, presumably, give the license number to dispatch. So my local PD isn't going to play this stupid game again with the management and tow company. Yeah, OP, if I were in your situation here, I'd be really making sure that the HOA fires this manager, because that's absolutely nuts, especially since they tried to tow you twice in one day. I would have been livid. Alright, let's jump into the first update from OP. It's titled, Update, HOA tried to tow my car twice. I was finally able to get to the police station for the 2 police reports from that day. Report number 1 at 14:02. Management believes he does not have proper parking permit, but per reporting person he does. Civil issue between the reporting person and the management HOA board over parking. The property has parking guidelines which are unclear of what vehicle could park where. Reporting person has been having issues with one specific board member, who he states harasses him. Reporting person was advised he could obtain a civil harassment order. Reporting person's vehicle was not towed. Report number 2 at 1800 hours. Subject has credentials to park where he was told not to park. HOA did not verify before calling tow. They have been counseled. Truck had proper parking pass. HOA manager did not verify before calling a tow. They have been told they must verify prior to calling a tow, or else they could face civil issues. I think that this pretty much shows how wrong the HOA management was. I am talking to an attorney about my best legal options. I will update here as things move forward. Now, OP added an edit at the bottom of this one. It says, edit on 7/25. I received word from the HOA management company that I would not be allowed to attend the online meeting tomorrow because it is only for the listed owner, who happens to be my wife. And I have a full legal, valid, and notarized power of attorney that gives me exclusive rights to discuss the property with the HOA board and HOA management. I shot back a nasty email telling the management company to go back to law school. OP also updated in the comments. It says, update, I received a letter for the HOA today stating that I am being fined for parking violations and that I have a board hearing scheduled for July 26th. These people have no shame or sense of decency. You can bet that they haven't bothered to request the police reports that show the fault to be entirely on their own shoulders. OP, I hope you added this letter to the previous complaint you made with the police, because this HOA can't get away with this. They're harassing you even further by sending you this letter in the first place. Let's jump into OP's third post on this story. Update, HOA tried to tow my car twice. There was an attempt to bar me from the meeting 2 days before it was scheduled. For reasons I won't go into now, the condo is held in a trust with my son as the beneficiary, which means from a legal standpoint, he is the holder of the deed. The HOA management company tried to argue that only deed holding owners can participate in violation hearings. This, despite me having a fully encompassing power of attorney for my son that explicitly gives me the power to manage all real estate holdings. In the end, my son sent an email to the HOA management designating me as his representative in the matter, and they were forced to accept it. However, the meeting was postponed until August 3rd. OP added a couple of edits onto this one. The first one says, edit, I was banned from r/HOA for my previous post. Apparently, they don't take too kindly to people exposing HOA F-ups. Edit number 2, from the first viewing to the close of escrow, I have always been the POC. The POA specific to this property has been on file with A, the escrow company, B, the BIA, the condo is on leased Indian land, and C, my financial institution, and D, the HOA management company, the one causing these problems, and E, the home insurance company. The HOA management company did not even know any of my son's contact info prior to the 24th, as they have never had any reason to interact with him due to the POA. This was a ploy to prevent me from representing myself at the hearing, but it backfired on them. Well, okay, you know a story's getting good when somebody gets banned from r/HOA? I think the Karens found him. Oh no! Alright, let's jump into part 4, update HOA tried to tow my car twice. If you've been following this saga, you know that the HOA had originally scheduled my parking violation hearing for Monday, July 28th. They then moved it to Tuesday, August 3rd, tomorrow. I just received an email stating that they have again rescheduled it for August 17th. I am fairly certain that they did this to conform to California's open meetings law that states that HOAs must announce all meetings ahead of time to all HOA members. They failed to do that for the first 2 scheduled meetings, and apparently, someone got wise to their screw-up. I'll keep you posted on the 17th. Jumping down to the comment section on this update, there's one from a user called Nighthawk75. It says, I got this feeling they can't get a quorum together, so they're doing some serious scrambling to make this one at least appear to be compliant. Yeah, I completely agree with this commenter. This HOA doesn't seem to know their butt from page 8, like they really can't get things together. I have a feeling OP's gonna get delayed again, but let's see in the next part. Here's part 5, update HOA tried to tow my car twice. Today, I received a letter from the HOA management that I have violated CC&R and R&R regulations by posting my open letter to HOA members on the HOA bulletin board that is located at the front of the complex next to the mailboxes. I had posted the letter that I had sent to the HOA board regarding the intentional harassment by the board regarding my properly permitted vehicle being intentionally towed on July 7th. I went through both the R&Rs and the CC&Rs and could find no mention of HOA members posting on the HOA bulletin board being illegal. Interestingly, the letter states my violation as posting letter illegally on HOA info boards. I'm no lawyer, but illegally generally means there's some state or local law prohibiting an act. HOA rules aren't local, state, or federal law, so I don't know why they are using the term illegally. No worries, I laughed it off. My wife and I have decided to go ahead with filing a suit against the HOA. We have retained an experienced law firm that only represents homeowners in HOA disputes. We'll update as things move forward. Jumping down to the comment section on this update, we have one from a user called Brandwafer. It says, just imagine the brain aneurysm they would have if they knew you were posting all this stuff on Reddit for the whole world to see. Yeah, if they didn't like your little letter posted at the entrance to your condo, then they definitely wouldn't like this being out in the public for everybody in the whole world to see. I agree with that commenter. I don't know, if I were in OP's situation, I probably would have waited until this whole process was over to write it up and post it on Reddit, but I'm not gonna fault them because it is a great story. Alright, on to part 6, update HOA tried to tow my car twice in one day. It's been a long 2 days. First off, while this parking drama has been unfolding, there is a second issue that I have been dealing with. That is, an HOA board member ambushing and harassing me in the parking lot when I leave for work at night. This has happened twice in the 5 months that we have lived here. This is the board member who has placed security cameras at various places around the building, including one that he had pointed at the pool area, apparently recording people at the pool, including children. As a result, I had determined that my best course of action after filing a complaint with the HOA board twice, which was ignored both times, was to request a restraining order against this individual. A temporary restraining order was denied by the court, and a hearing was scheduled for today, 8/18, to consider the regular restraining order. I arrived at court only to be told that the hearing was rescheduled for September 1st. Important to note is that I received no notice of the date change, as is required by law. Upon arriving back home, I was greeted by an email from a high-priced HOA law firm out of Los Angeles. The letter basically states that they are representing the board member and that my RO request has no merit, because he was acting within his duties as an HOA board member. What the letter failed to mention was that the first instance of harassment took place before he was seated on the board. The letter goes on about frivolous lawsuits, having to pay the board members legal fees, blah blah blah. It's a BS letter designed to scare me off of pursuing the RO. One thing of note in the letter is its attempt to conflate my RO request with my continuous parking violations. This board member is the same one who has 2 parking passes that allow him to park both his cars under the carport. Us regular peons only get 1. The hearing. I logged on through Zoom to find only the HOA management representative with her camera on. The other 4 board members, including the one I have the RO pending against, were all blacked out. The HOA rep insisted that it was I that requested the meeting, and therefore there would be no questions. I would state my case, and the board would decide in executive session what my fate would be. I argued that it wasn't me who requested the meeting, it was the board that sent the violation notice to me. Anyway, I made my case the best I could by pointing out that no new owners were told what permit was for what parking. I then pointed out that a letter was sent in February with the details of the parking permits, but that I never received that letter when I closed escrow in April. And that letter explicitly states that the permits are non-transferable and registered to the individual units and owners. So the board member with 2 red permits is in violation of the HOA R&Rs. My pleas fell on deaf ears. So now I wait to hear my fate. My wife, who has been supportive, has had enough. She's ready to sell and get the F out of this nightmare. She went so far as to arrange our realtor to meet with us this Saturday. The good news is that prices have increased roughly 15 to 20% in just 5 months, so if we sell, we will just break even considering our closing costs. Jumping down to the comment section on this one, there's one from a user called MadHamster321. It says, "Get out. I see unending retaliation in your future. They don't follow the rules. Their lawyer is either dumb or doesn't actually look into anything, just threatens. It's clearly an old boys club." Yeah, what's happening here is literally just threats from the lawyer, because their experience is probably that people aren't willing to put the money into a court case, and if they threaten them with dragging things out and whatever they're gonna do, most people would step back and say, yeah, I'm not gonna deal with that, and move on to something else. Well, that's not what happens with OP in this case. Let's continue on. Here's part 7, update HOA tried to tow my car twice. Something that I have not mentioned up to now is my ongoing attempt at engaging as many other homeowners as I can in the workings of the HOA and management company. To that end, I set up a Zoom call and spread the word. The call was this afternoon and 15 homeowners logged on. All of them related stories from hell concerning the management company and its principal agent, who is the de facto head of the HOA, and all agreed that the management company needs to be replaced. One of the homeowners is an active member of the HOA board, but is resigning next week. He indicated the 2 other board members are either resigning or moving, so that there will be 3 empty seats on the board. Of the 15 on the call, 3 agreed to be nominated to fill those empty slots. It's a start towards cleaning up the HOA board and replacing the management company with a competent one. Jumping down to the comment section on this one, there's one from a user called One Beautiful Dog. It says, "How many on the board? Wouldn't 3 be enough to be a majority?" OP responded to this and said, "There are 5 total, so there will soon be only 2, the president and treasurer, and that is not enough of a quorum to vote on anything." Well, OP, it sounds like this is going in the right direction. If you can get in some of those homeowners that have the same point of view that you do on the HOA, I think it's only going to end in your favor. So let's jump on to the next part and find out. Here we go on to part 8, update HOA tried to tow my car twice. Lots of you have messaged me asking for an update. Since my last post, the number of disgruntled homeowners who are unhappy with the HOA board and the management company has grown to 46 out of 120 units, a fairly sizable chunk. we have been having weekly Zoom meetings to strategize our responses to the monthly HOA meeting, which happened on 9/22. We had sent a letter to the board prior to the meeting indicating that we had 3 homeowners who were willing to be appointed to the board for the remainder of the term, which expires in February. As I posted earlier, there are 2 board vacancies and another board member, the one who has been harassing me, is in escrow and should be closing this week. Our grievances were simple. We are unanimous that the management company should not be in control of the HOA board. The board should control the management company. Many owners expressed dissatisfaction with the parking rules and the fact that the HOA never clearly defined them. Virtually all of us expressed the opinion that the management company should be terminated for a whole host of reasons. At the start of the meeting, the management, which is really just one person, muted everyone and refused to let anyone talk until after the board appointed 2 of their own people to the new vacancies. No discussion was allowed. No questions to the new board members were allowed. Our candidates were not even considered, and the entire board refused to be on camera. Further, the manager would not allow any questions. We could only make statements that were less than 3 minutes long. In her opening, she mentioned a $7,000 legal bill that she stated the board had incurred defending a board member from an angry homeowner. That would be me. She then opened the floor but would only unmute one person at a time. Person after person expressed their displeasure that 2 new board members were appointed without any discussion or input from the homeowners. Many asked why the board member who was in escrow did not resign from the board and allow at least one of our candidates to be appointed. Again, neither the board nor the management answered any questions. There was a talk about a recall, which most of my coalition supported. One member, who is not part of our group, asked about the $7,000 legal expense, but the board, again, refused to answer. When it became my turn, I explained the best I could in 3 minutes why the HOA paid an attorney $7,000, and how I had been continually harassed by the board and the management. The next few speakers demanded that the HOA and management immediately cease payment to the attorney, and asked why the members were not informed of the board's decision to hire one. Out of nearly 50 speakers, only 1 owner expressed approval of the board and the management company. After the meeting, I received a message from a 65-year-old female owner who forwarded me the harassment that she had endured by the same board member that has been harassing me. I was astounded by how similar our stories were. Her niece had been living with her and found this pervert filming her from his kitchen window, which overlooks the pool area. Same thing happened to my wife, which, along with the other harassment, was why I filed the restraining order. However, in hindsight, I made a very bad decision. When I discovered that his condo was in escrow, I withdrew the restraining order, thinking that he would be soon gone. After discovering this, I immediately sent the board a letter asking why someone who has a documented history of harassment was allowed to be appointed to the board in the first place. I have received no answer. That's it in a nutshell. My group will meet on Zoom on Sunday to discuss what our next move should be. I welcome your input. Jumping down to the comment section on this one, there's one from a user called BLZR0197. It says, "Okay, that sounds to be about 20 different kinds of illegal. I'm fairly certain the board and the management will get into deep crap because of that. Do me one favor, break out the RYNO and give them a WWE style legal smackdown." For those wondering about RYNO, cause I had no idea what that meant, apparently it's rip you a new one, and that's exactly what needs to happen to this HOA. Alright, last part coming up, here we go. Here's part 9, update: HOA tried to tow my car twice. It's been about a month since I last posted, so here is a quick update. After the previous HOA meeting on 9/22, every homeowner received a letter stating that the board was levying a one-time $185 assessment fee to cover legal fees of $10,000 incurred by the board to defend the now no longer board member from my restraining order lawsuit, and to cover the recall election that was called for but then rescinded by my group. It was pointed out by one of us, who happens to be a lawyer, that every HOA board member must be covered under a director's and officer's liability insurance policy. The question was asked why the board did not file a claim on this policy before levying the assessment fee, and why we were being charged for an election recall that never happened. To date, the board has not responded to either question. On the legal front, I attended court on 9/1 to formally withdraw my restraining order complaint on the board member who had been harassing me. I did it because the MLS listed his condo as in escrow, and I figured I wouldn't need an RO if he was moving out. The attorney hired by the HOA was there, and the judge asked him if he agreed with the dismissal. He answered that he did. Case closed, or so I thought. A week later, I get a certified letter that they are suing me for attorney fees and costs. At that time, the bill was just under $10,000. The letter claimed that because I withdrew my complaint, the board member was the prevailing party and was entitled to recover attorney fees, and listed a number of court cases in his defense. A quick Google revealed that all of those cases involved contract law, not civil restraining order cases. So I typed up my response and filed it with the court. The hearing to determine if I owed them $10,000 was on 10/21. It took the judge less than 3 minutes to tear their argument to shreds and dismiss their case. Ergo, I'm not paying a dime to the board member or the HOA who hired the attorney. Keep in mind that this board member had resigned on 9/24 when his condo sold, and the HOA attorney was still being paid to defend him. He didn't even come to court, as he had moved out of the state completely. On 10/27, there was another monthly HOA meeting. Again, the board allowed no Q&A, just 3 minutes per person. About 30 owners showed up. The day before, the HOA sent out a blast email to owners telling them that the legal fees had increased to $12,000 because of a resident who continues to cause trouble with the board, and that the $185 assessment was to cover that, while they acknowledged that the recall effort was off the table. During my 3 minutes, I explained in bullet points the lawsuit, and that the HOA's case against me to collect attorney fees was denied and dismissed by the court. Others asked why the homeowners had to foot the bill for a civil issue not involving the HOA. Again, the board refused to answer any questions and told everyone that they could email their questions to the board. What an effing cop-out. I understand that there has been considerable pressure mounting on the HOA to explain why the D&O insurance wasn't utilized to pay the legal fees. I surmise that the board knows that any investigation into the history of the offending board member would reveal that he had been accused of harassing other owners numerous times before he was seated on the board, and that would preclude him from being covered by the insurance policy. This is an evolving part of the story. On the parking issue, I discovered that the woman who signed the authorization to tow my wife's car is not an HOA employee or board member, nor is she employed by the management company. As far as we can tell, she is simply a friend of the manager. California law requires that the person authorizing a tow do so in an official capacity as a manager, board member, or employee of the HOA. Bringing this to the attention of the HOA and the management company has got me nothing but silence. I am considering pursuing this in small claims court, as there is another owner whose car was towed that day who was also never provided with the parking rules when they purchased their condo. They are definitely suing the HOA in small claims to recoup the towing fees of nearly $400. That's it in a nutshell, nothing earth-shattering. I was relieved that the judge found in my favor in the lawsuit, and I know that a number of owners are demanding answers from the HOA board. My group is setting our sights on the HOA board election coming up in February. There is nothing the board can do to stop that from happening. I will update as appropriate. Jumping down to the comment section on this one, there's one from a user called Sayator. It says, "What a mess. I was a bit worried the other owners would be mad at you over the $185 assessment. Glad that anger seems to be directed more towards the board." OP responded to this comment and said, to be honest, there are a few that are siding with the board and management, but they are a minority at this point. So it sounds like OP's coming out on top. Now, I'm gonna go do a little bit of a look through OP's profile to see if I missed any updates, because this one was from 2 years ago, so let me go do that. I'll be right back. Alright, I found it. I found the final update, and it's not what we were hoping for. It says, update, HOA tried to tow my car twice. It says, lots of users have been messaging me asking for an update. A couple of things are happening in the next few weeks, so I will save the update until then. Stay tuned. Well, I went all the way through OP's profile from then until current day, and there's no update. But it does turn out that in OP's profile, it looks like they're a pretty amazing cook. So if you go through their profile at the links in the description down below, you might just learn something about cooking, which is pretty cool. Check out OP, linked in the description down below for this amazing series of stories. And I thank you for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day, and we'll see you tomorrow.